Welcome back, Z-Freaks. In today's video, I'll be showcasing a powerful yellow strategy featuring Kathleen the Elegant Dancer. This is an aggressive deck that can also defeat your opponent instantly with a combo finish. So stay tuned and I'll have that coming right up for you. Good to see you again, Z-Freaks. Thanks for joining me on today's video. If you got a notification for this video, leave a comment and let me know. I'm trying to see who's all in the notification game. If you didn't get a notification for this video, then you missed out. But fret not, my viewer, this is easily remedied. All you gotta do is hit that subscribe button and that motherfucking bell icon, and you'll be notified of my next awesome upload. Shout out to the Zenonzard community on Facebook. We're almost at 1.5 thousand members. I'm glad to see this game is growing. I try to be active in that group, but if Facebook isn't your thing, then there's also a Discord server that you can join too if you're looking for a community. Last thing before I get into the video, follow me on Twitter if you want to see the random stuff I post there, and I have a link in my description where you can donate to help me improve the quality of my channel if you feel like supporting me in such a way. And I just want to thank everyone who has supported me thus far. Hopefully I haven't bored you yet, but the best things in life are worth waiting for. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's take a look at the White Cat Kathleen, the Elegant Dancer. She's a 4-cost, 500 BP, 1 DP Guardian with some amazing abilities. When she's summoned and at the start of your turn, you search your deck for 1 Kathleen's fan and add it to your hand, and the cost of that card becomes 0 for the turn. For those who don't know, her fan is an easy to use magic card that simply gives a minion charge and research. For 2 mana this seems a tad bit underwhelming, but when combined with Kathleen's second ability, this card is worth even more than 2 mana. Let's see. During your turn, whenever one of your yellow minions is selected for one of your card abilities, that minion gains 200 BP and 1 DP for the duration of the turn, and thankfully this effect does not stack. This passive ability turns her fan into a pretty deadly weapon, and it's even better that she let you cast the fan for 0 mana. So if you do the math, for 4 mana total, you're looking at 700 BP, 2 DP, charge, and resurge on 1 minion. That's pretty good value. Not only can Kathleen become huge herself, this effect works on any of your yellow minions, so knowing that, I wanted to build the deck to get maximum effectiveness out of her abilities. So let's take a look at the 40. Now I'm still messing around with the deck to get the correct ratio of cards and whatnot, but this is the one I've been having success with. It's from a subscriber of mine, Steven. And while I played a tad different from this, I can't deny that I've definitely had more wins with this version. Now, Kathleen has the potential to steal games through the right combination of cards and skillful play. And I want to prioritize the cards that enable that in this video, so I'm going to start off with the Reptilian. This card might look weak, but it definitely packs a punch. This card enables a lot of the wind stealing that happens when piloting this deck. When the Snaketail Cat attacks, you select one of your opponent's minions with equal or less BP than this one to prevent it from attacking, blocking, or moving until the end of your opponent's turn. This essentially stuns the enemy minion. So the stunning ability is useful on offense and defense because not only can you prevent a chump from blocking, you can prevent it from attacking you next turn. This is a combo oriented deck, so there's not a lot of defense, so preventing a minion from attacking will alleviate a lot of the pressure that we simply don't have enough room in our deck to answer. And they also won't be able to move it, which can disrupt their plays for next turn. This can only affect cards with a power that it can match or exceed, so we'll need to buff his BP in order to have him really control the game. And this makes him a prime candidate for receiving your targeted abilities while Kathleen is in play. The Reptilian also has a lot of synergy with another cornerstone of the deck, Angela the Concealed Celestial. Angela helps us buff our minions to considerable numbers. As long as she's in play, whenever a minion enters your field, all of your yellow and neutral minions receive 100 BP permanently. And you can use this to make sure your Reptilian is strong enough to paralyze tougher minions, and give you some strong blockers to protect you until you can defeat your opponent. She also has another incredible ability. When you summon her, if you have 2 or more yellow evokers in your base, you can summon a 2-cost yellow or neutral field minion from your deck. This ability is very strong and versatile, and you want to make sure you have 2 evokers in your base ASAP to take advantage of this. You include 3 copies of Angela because she can summon one of your best cards directly from the deck and can make him even stronger. You always want to make sure you have 2 evokers before summoning her from your hand. back to Kathleen for a second. Her ability would trigger whenever your minion is selected by any one of your own card effects. So that means you need to include some cards in the deck that select your minions. And luckily, yellow is probably the color with the most cards that do that. We obviously include 3 fans, no explanation necessary here. We have 2 Warcry, and this card is low-key broken. You select one minion to put in the active state, and when combined with Kathleen and Reptilian, the synergy is obviously extreme. The last important self-targeting card is none other than Harai. Not the base minion himself, obviously, but the magic he conjures. Harai spell entry number 1, Restoration. When you cast this, you select one of your minions with a cost of 3 or less and put it in the active state. While this isn't as powerful as Warcry, it still does exactly what we needed to do in this deck. By using this on Reptilian, you can stun multiple enemies in one turn or go for an easy victory. And speaking of stun, Restoration also grants you Harai's second spell, Air Snare. This card stuns an enemy minion with a cost 6 or less, and while this doesn't target your own minion, this card is still important for the same reason Reptilian is. This card is also great because it can stun some cards that your Reptilian may be too weak to target. Since Kathleen is the axis of the deck, it's a good idea to include cards that can search for her, so you can play her as soon as possible. Well, not only does this card search for Kathleen, since we've adopted the Cure Force, you can play her a turn earlier than normal with Assault Dive. Cure reduces the cost of this card from 5 to 3, and during your main phase or flash phase, you can search your deck for a yellow field minion with a cost of 4 and play it. This gives us a huge amount of flexibility in our opening mulligan. We're essentially running 5 copies of Angela and Kathleen by including these cards. So that's it for our Kathleen package. Now let's move on to the deck's engines and tech. First I want to go over our Evoker engine, which includes Harai, which I already explained. So that leaves us with Oleana. Now this is a very good card for yellow decks. Her first magic, Scout, lets you look at the top 3 cards of your deck for a yellow minion and add it to your hand while creating her second spell, Release. With this being a combo deck, we need cards like this to help us search what we need for, and this is great that it's tied to a base minion. Her second spell, Release, will grant one of your minions a buff that will return it to your hand when it's destroyed. Now, this will ensure that you don't take too much of a loss if you face some disruption. And this is another card that you can use with Kathleen as well. Next in our Evoker engine is Suli, a very important card, mostly because it's an easy yellow mana. But if you have an Evoker in your mana, you can check the top card of your deck and add it to your hand if it's a yellow minion. It's good to add a little bit of consistency here and there. We also have Mappy Rat, which is an easy way to secure mana. We can use him to fetch the yellow nymph Omisu from our deck. And this nymph will come in handy because we are also running a minion that can transform. Sasuke, the Denizen of Kanatana, is a very solid 3-cost minion. We're using this card to boost the deck's consistency. When you summon him, you check the top 2 cards of your deck for a yellow minion and add it to your hand. Now this skill is already neat since it helps us assemble our combo, but he can also transform, which makes our Mappy Rat even more useful. Sasuke Undercover Shinobi is excellent because he's another powerhouse attacker. He can restand himself whenever an opponent's minion is bounced to their hand, and creates a magic that can bounce when he's transformed. And he's also 3 costs, so he's a target for Restoration. Sasuke can get a lot of attacks off in one turn, and with Kathleen in play, he can be deadly. So those are the cards that we use to keep our deck consistent and flowing smoothly. Now I'm going to move on to the tech option. Magpie Messenger isn't really a tech card. He's just here because it's another easy to use attacker with Kathleen, and it has swoop, so it's really good with Angela as well. The Virtuous Knight is a great choice for this deck, despite us running the Phoenix Force ourselves. It's a 2-cost minion, so Angela can search him, and since our deck is so aggressive, the less your opponent can interact, the better. Now, you can play 100 ranked games in a day, and I'm positive they can count on one hand the amount of opponents who are not running the Phoenix Force. It's just that good, and thankfully, instead of always folding to it, we have an easy to use answer to it. This card can draw out your opponent's removal, meaning they'll have less ways to defend it and remove Kathleen if they use their removal on this guy. And if they don't remove it, then it'll be hard for them to defend themselves once Kathleen is ready to pounce, because all their mana will be in the rest state. The last card I haven't explained yet and probably shouldn't need to is Reverse Wind. It's yellow's basic flash magic made even better by the Cure Force. And that's the deck. Let me know if you like this style of deck profile by hitting that like button. And if you want more Zenonzard content like this, then go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me. That would mean a lot to me. Now I'm going to go over a replay that shows how this deck can sneakily steal a win. And before I end the video, I'll show you some other cards you can try on this deck as well. Alright, let's get into it. I wanted to show this replay because this deck has a reputation of stealing games away from the opponent. Just like a cat that makes you think he's harmless, and then it pounces and devastates its prey. I was sure I had lost this game and I was actually about to forfeit, so I could move on to the next one, but I gave it one more turn, and I followed my AI advice and I actually ended up winning. When mulliganing, you always want to send back the fan because you can search it out. I had 2 evokers in my opening hand, but you want to make sure that you secure 2 evokers ASAP, and Oleana is really good for this. So they're doing their red BS thing, putting their blade draw. I draw a Suli, so this turn is good. I was able to summon 2 Suli, and so I can dig for the cards that I need, and luckily I secured an Angela, which is live now that I have 2 evokers in my hand. So they're going to play their Yashium, move it to the base, their cost reduction card. Pretty typical. Now on my turn, I play my base minion, summon Angela, and grab Reptilian from the deck. And I move into the base to protect them and accelerate my mana and pass turn. It's no need to attack and risk Angela getting burned. And unfortunately, it's getting to the point in the game where cost reduction can shine. She summoned a Sieg, Apollo Dragon, and a Duskers for only 5 mana. And with Apollo Dragon's ability forcing me to block, I know my Angela's toast. And unfortunately, I had no reversal in thanks to Suli. So my first move this turn is to summon Sasuke, which luckily I had another Angela, so I'll move into base, summon Angela, and grab a Reptilian. Now I felt pretty foolish doing this considering I did the exact same move last turn, and it was not very effective without backup. So her Apollo Dragon just clears my Angela for absolutely free, and that feels bad, but luckily they didn't have too much more to play, I guess. I think they're just not attacking, so I can have more things to get through in case I go off with Kathleen. So at this point I'm clearly losing, and I'm using the False Felon to desperately draw more cards. I use a fan on it, which is not recommended, and I boosted it with my base minion to draw another card, and it's not much else I can do. So on the turn they drop their big boy Rising Apollo Dragon, and I was about to hit the forfeit button honestly, but I decided to just play it out. Watching my board get slaughtered was tough here, but I just had to do what I had to do. Now let me show you how good Oleana is. She comes way too late. This is turn 11 and she still does work. Scout is so good. I checked the top 3 and Kathleen is the 3rd card. If I can't win this turn, then I'm definitely losing, so I'm just gotta go for it. I summon her and grab a fan from the deck, and I move my Reptilian to the field, and I use Release on the Reptilian just to boost its power enough to stun the Yashium. And she blocks with Duskers, probably to prevent me from restanding him, but now this is my opportunity to go in. So I hit the fan on Kathleen, no removal, hit her for 2, hit the War Cry on Kathleen and restand her, and she gains an additional DP, and that's game. So I was sure I lost this one, but we turned it into a win just like that. So that's a good opportunity to show how the deck works. So what'd you think? Kathleen deck pretty cool, huh? I'm going to go ahead and get into the alternative cards that you can try out in case you don't have all the cards or you prefer to run a different engine than the one I was using. Let's start with the forces. Sphinx is a very good force in a deck like this. It protects pretty much all your minions since they all cost 5 or less. And Angela becomes a lot more deadly when she gets harder to answer. And this force also only has 3 life, so it can't get popped by Phoenix Cannon, unlike the Cure Force that we're using. Yellow has 2 more evokers if you want to increase the number of evokers for Angela, or even adopt another package in your deck. Star conjures a Chimera Arcana, and Asami conjures an Avian Arcana. They're both strong, but I prefer Star since her minion costs 3, and I just don't have any good Avians in my inventory. Jackknife Swallow is an alternate attacker and yellow mana. Not really much to explain here. Otter Elder is yellow mana and has an ability that selects one of your minions, making him very versatile when Kathleen is in play. Gauntlet is just Gauntlet. It works well with Reptilian and Kathleen, and being able to replace itself is nice as well in a deck that relies on getting the most out of its resources. Straybot is a 2-cost that can be summoned with Angela's ability, and it's very good against Golem. If you use the Sphinx Force, I highly recommend using Straybot, as it can get very big with Angela's ability, and if your opponent can't remove it with magic, then they'll never be able to get past this card. Carapace is an interesting card that I was testing out for a minute. It's a bit hard to set up, but making something pseudo unblockable is always a recipe for a quick kill. There's obvious synergy with Kathleen here as well. And you can select one of your yellow minions, give it an extra BP, and make it unblockable. And all you'll have to really do is restand it one time to go for the kill. Whoa is one of the best yellow cards out right now. Mo and Angela can pretty much seal the deal against any non-yellow deck. And once again, I'm recommending that you use the Sphinx Force if you decide to use this card. And he's also an avian, so you can use Asemi as well if you want to use this. Lastly, I've got Puha, Angel of the Bowstring. This is an interesting choice, and you'll obviously need more evokers to take advantage of this ability. And it'd be cool to slam a Kathleen or Angela with Puha if you got 4 evokers, but honestly, she's just best at dropping Virtuous Knight on your opponent's turn after they use all their mana, so that they'll be tapped out and you can go for the kill next turn. I want to thank everyone for joining me today for this Kathleen showcase. Once again, if you like this style of video, please leave me a like and it'll let me know to keep doing deck profiles in this fashion. Also, make sure you subscribe for more awesome Zenonzard content. And check out the videos that I'll post up here or whatever. And make sure you check out the recommended videos as well. I do put the recommended videos in the card on the side, just in case there's something you might not understand, and that video can go more in depth for you if that's what you're interested in. So alright, thanks everybody for watching. Peace out, Z Freaks, and I'll catch y'all in the next video.